first of all, thank you very much for being here, and especially thank you, Tomasz, for joining us today. This webinar is part of the activities of the Charlie Project. It is an European project in which 5 partners we work, and the aim of the project is to work on the awareness and improving the knowledge regarding the biases in algorithms and big data. If you want, I can show you something of the project afterwards, if after Tomasz presentation, because he has to leave at 5:30, so I don't want to keep him longer than that. Tomasz, first of all, he's a very good friend of us from UAB. He has been here a couple of times, and he's an expert in the field of artificial intelligence, and expert also in the other field that it has in the title, which is academic integrity. He has been coordinating the biggest European network on academic integrity, which is NI, and also he's an assistant professor at Masaryk University, and he teaches ethics and IT. So this is his topic, as you can see, both things, information technologies and artificial intelligence, and academic integrity and ethics. And he will be just talking today about these 2 topics, which they start with the same letters. Many times you find them with the same acronym, which is IE, and he will talk about what they have in common, which I think it's very interesting. So if you can't, just use the chat, and if you have questions, just feel free to write in the chat. If you cannot, if it's not, if you don't have this possibility, we will have some time after Tomasz speak, and sure, if there are any questions, he will answer them. So Tomasz, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ruben, for a nice introduction. Good afternoon to everyone who is in Europe. Good morning to America. Good evening to Asia. I'm not sure about the geographical diversity of our participants, but I expect mostly most of you are from Europe or South America. So as Ruben said, this webinar will be about artificial intelligence and academic integrity. And what exactly are we going to cover? First, I would like to present the general principles of generative AI, so to provide you with basic overview about how these tools work. Then we will look at how to use it. I can present a couple of tools, but only few of that. I'm not sure if you are aware of a website. There is an aiforthat.com that kind of lists all the AI tools that are available to make your life easier for particular tasks. I looked there yesterday, and there were over 9,000 different AI tools. So obviously, I don't know all of them. Obviously, I don't know all the specifics of your courses or your research tasks and research areas. So I will present the basic ones, and there will be also a possibility for you to share what tools you use and what is helpful to you, so all of us can learn from each other. And then we move to the actual ethical considerations. So how to use these AI tools properly. We will cover ethical considerations in education, in science, and I will also mention the possibility of detection of AI generated text. So let's move to the first topic, principles of generative AI. First of all, let us answer the question, what is AI? if you ask an AI tool, Midjourney, which is a generative tool that that can draw images, what is AI? You get these nice images of women with artificial things in their head. So that is what AI thinks, what AI is. If you look at the official European Union's definition, you can read that artificial intelligence refers to systems that appear to have intelligent behavior by analyzing their environment and taking actions with some degree of autonomy to achieve specific goals. And when talking about generative artificial intelligence, specific goals here means content generation. I will explain a little bit later why AI sees itself as a woman, why we are getting pictures of women and not pictures of men. It will come later. It's pretty straightforward if we understand a bit how these things work inside. So what is inside? In most current AI tools, what is inside is so-called neural network, which is something like this: the set or different layers of neurons that are interconnected. And we can think of this neural network operation as of the flow of the input that goes through the network to the output, and during this flow, this input is transformed to the output. Unlike classical programming, where programmers write all the code and all the conditions and loop and basically specifies how the program should behave, here the programmer doesn't do anything like that. They just specify the structure of the network and then defines the criteria that tell us whether the output that we receive is good or bad, good or not. And then all these connections between the neurons, all the parameters of the network are gained during training or learning. So we have some training data, we feed them to the network, we get some output, and we can evaluate whether this output was correct or not. And based on this evaluation, these parameters are adjusted and the process repeats and repeats a long time until the results that we are getting are not good enough. And so that's how it works, like on a very, very basic level. If we want to have some specific example, so I can train a neural network that is going to answer the question whether it is going to rain or not. So I may have a meteor station on the roof of my house. So I will feed the network with the data from this meteor station, and of course also the information whether it rained or not that day. And of course I can define also the success metric, evaluation of correctness. So this model would be trained to answer one specific question: is it going to rain today? So what it actually does from the mathematical or statistical point of view, it calculates the conditional probability of rain based on the current weather. So I feed it with the data about the current weather, I get the probability of rain. So the model tells me that the probability of raining is some 10%. So I say, okay, it's pretty low. I don't take my umbrella, and then I have unpleasant experience. It is raining and I am wet, so I evaluate the answer that it was incorrect. And based on this answer, the model, the parameters of the model are adjusted. The model trains on this experience, and next time, hopefully, the answer, the prediction will be better. But what happens then if I take my model that was, as you can see, trained on the data only from my hometown, Brno, Czech Republic in Central Europe, and then I travel to Mallorca to visit Ruben, visit Ruben at the University of Balearic Islands. So obviously the weather there behaves in completely different way. So the answers that I will be getting from my model will be probably very, very wrong. So this is the situation when the model trained, the AI, and this AI that I trained is going to fail because I'm asking very general question. Is it going to rain today? That's the question that I can ask anywhere in the world. But I have very specific model that is trained to take into account only the relationships between in weather in Brno in one specific city. Another situation where where the AI-based tool can fail is if we have a general model and ask very specific question. If I have a general model that can capture all these relationships or all these atmospheric functions in the whole world, and I ask specific question, is it going to rain today in Brno? The model doesn't know because it just has the information about how the atmosphere works, but doesn't know the current situation in Brno. So in order to get the correct answer, I have to give it context. I have to feed it with the current weather data that are in particular location. And this is something that we should take into account because the language models that are the core of modern generative AI tools are general models that are trained on the data from many text sources. It basically it was trained on a lot of data downloaded from internet. So on one hand, it knows everything. On the other hand, it doesn't. It knows nothing about our specific needs. So if we want to use these models, we have to provide it with a context in order to get answer for our specific question. So I will stop talking about weather now, the weather now, and let's focus more on these generative models. As any other machine learning models, these models are trained to answer one question. And in case of the text generation, this question is, what is the next word? Fill in the next word in according to given context. So again, I can have the model. I give the model some question. The best movie of all times is, and this time it's not like the question with question mark, but it's the beginning of the sentence. And the task of the model is to fill in the next word, so to answer what would fit into the given context. And the model trained on all the conversations about the movies all around the world gives me some potential words that can fit into that context. I will select the most probable one, add it to the beginning of the sentence. So now my query is the best movie of all times is and now the probability distribution of the following words is different. Yeah, so according to all these rankings, like the most probable word that is that is going to appear in this context is Shawshank, but other people like the Godfather theory, Godfather trilogy. So the Godfather may appear also in this context, and other the names of other movies as well. So again, I choose the most likely word. Just a note here, I don't have to always select the most likely word. I can give it some randomness and select randomly some word out of the most probable ones. And that's why the ChatGPT is getting me different answers, or different users are getting different answers, because there is some degree of randomness. But if my algorithm works like this, that I always take the most probable word, then it basically behaves deterministically. And as long as the beginning of the sentence is the best movie of all times is The Shawshank, then almost for sure the word redemption comes, because that's the name of the movie. So this is how the text generation works. It's based on the probability that the word fits given context. As you can see, it doesn't have anything to do with the factual correctness. It was just trained on the data from the internet. So if The Shawshank appears very likely in the context of the best movie of all times, the model puts it to this context. If the conversations around the best movies would be different, then also the title of that movie would be different, no matter of what the actual evaluations and, let's say, the objective rankings are. When it comes to image generation, the question that the models are trained to answer is denoise an image. So we start with some prompt. We want to draw an image of a cute kitten, and we start also with some random noise. And the output of that model will be something that is more denoised, so it's more close to cute kitten, and it's less noisy. And if we repeat this process several times, then we may get image like that. Yeah, so that's basically how these image generators work. Both types of generators rely heavily on the very large amount of data that were available basically for free on the internet. The language models were trained on Wikipedia, on books, on conversations, on discussion fora, and so on and so forth. So it took gigabytes of text from the internet and trained the model on that. The image generators were trained by taking images from the internet with their descriptions, and it is easy to add some noise to the image and then train the network to remove that noise according to this prompt. So only the wide availability of training data allowed the big companies to train the models and to achieve the quality that we have now. If we look at this image about what actually flows throughout the network, it is nothing else than real numbers. Like every input has to be converted to a sequence of real numbers, to the vector of real numbers, and then these numbers flow through the network, and on the output we are also getting real numbers. So one of the crucial parts of text generation is translation between these vectors and between the words in natural language and these vectors. It was also a subject of training, so how to get these vectors in order to capture all the semantic relationships. And even though this picture uses only 2 dimensions, in reality there are many more dimensions. In GPT we have 256 dimensions, and in larger models like Llama from Meta there are even over 8,000 dimensions. So we can it's not really easy to answer the question what particular dimensions express, but it's not necessary to understand. Yeah, for us, it's not necessary to know that every concept, every word is translated to a vector, and we can perform certain arithmetic operations with these vectors. So, for example, if you take the vector representing king, you subtract the vector representing man and add the vector representing woman, you get the vector that represents the queen. Yeah, because the semantic relation between man and woman is exactly the same as the semantic relation between king and queen. And also the relationship between king and man is the same as between queen and woman. So that's why we can do these operations. And it also makes it very easy then to translate between different languages, because you have this concept, this vector in latent space, and this vector is basically language independent. Yeah? So then when you translate it to words from particular languages, you are basically using the same vectors and you are changing just their representation. And this is now the answer for question why AI is woman. Just look at the at the grammar, whether the word intelligence is masculinum or femininum, and in most languages it's femininum. Yeah? In Spanish we have la inteligencia. In Czech language, it's femininum as well. So that's why when you try to depict intelligence, you more likely get woman than man. So the main messages from this theoretical introduction, I hope that you could still survive that. But I believe that it's important to understand what's happening behind. So machine learning models answer one question. In case of large language models, the question is, give me the most likely word in the given context. Behavior of the model largely depends on the training data. If we have low quality training data, we are getting low quality outputs. If we have high quality training data and proper structure of the network, we are getting high quality of outputs. Both input and outputs are vectors. And in case of general models, the prompt should always contain context that is not obvious, and the model doesn't know that. So that was the theoretical introduction, and now I would like to talk about some particular useful AI tools. So, but first of all, I would like to give you the opportunity to share the information about what tools, what AI-based tools do you use? Yeah, what tools do you find useful? By using them, I mean, like, not that I have tried them just once, but I'm using them regularly, at least once a week. So if you can go to that Mentimeter, you can either use the QR code or go directly to menti.com and then enter the code and give me a couple of tools. Yeah, that there's space for 5 tools. So if you use more, just try to pick up the 5 tools that you find most useful. So now we are getting the responses. Okay, 82 responses. Great, thank you. From more than 40 people. Even more. So ChatGPT is apparently leading, followed by DeepL, the translation tools, the translation tool. Then we have BART, another language model from Google and Netflix. It's also a nice idea. I'm wondering if someone mentioned Grammarly or not, because it's also an AI-based tool that is used to check grammar. I can see Jenny quite a few times, but I have to admit I don't know this tool. Can someone tell us what this tool is about?
Hello. For
Yeah.
Jen, I wrote it. So it's like specifically for writing articles. It's so helpful. Like you can just add like a topic, so it starts to write for you. You can even add citation or whatever you want, but you should be careful because, like, as I understood, it's not so practical, but it can give you a lot of like new idea for writing articles.
Mm-hmm. And does it give you also the articles about the topic? So is it like something that helps you with literature review, or just the ideas about the topic?
You can add it, like you can have introduction, methodology, or whatever you want. You can have your own library. So just you need the topic, it starts to write for you. Introduction, methodology, result, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, and then there are plenty of other tools. So let me present a couple of tools that I found useful. I have to stop this presenter mode and switch to my PowerPoint again. Yeah, so obviously ChatGPT, it was most frequently mentioned by you. So it's a chatbot that is built on top of this large language model GPT, generative pre-trained transformer. That basically does what I was talking about, so generate most likely word given that context, regardless from the factual correctness. And it was trained to behave as a virtual assistant, answering questions and generating human-like content. As it was trained on the data from internet, it also absorbed a lot of illegal, harmful, or offensive content. So on top of that model, there are some filters that are designed to specifically get rid of this kind of content. Yeah, it was not an easy task for OpenAI to train these filters, and a lot of people, a lot of human annotators had serious mental health issues after working like annotators of this kind of content. Then there are some tools that are designed for reading documents. So it can be either the dedicated website, or you can install some extensions to Chrome web browser, and these tools can read the content of the website and then answer questions about summarization, explanation of the website purpose, explain specific passages, or ask specific questions about the content. So I tried this SciSpace Copilot to explain the key takeaways from our university statement on the application of artificial intelligence at teaching at Masaryk University, and it basically gave me quite a good extraction of most important ideas that are in that statement. So with tools like this, you can if you are looking for some ways how to incorporate this to your teaching, so you can ask the students to do the same. Yeah, read some website, read some article, and extract key takeaways. Try to find the reasons why exactly these takeaways are important for the students, and elaborate on differences or comment on the differences between the student's opinion and the opinion of that AI tool that would use. And also, these tools make mistakes sometimes. Yeah, they are getting better, but they are still not perfect. So try the students to think about the wrong answer and try to explain what caused the wrong answer. Then we have some tools that are specifically designed to help during scientific tasks. So, for example, literature review. One of the applications is Consensus, and it's the language model that is connected with scientific database. So after entering a keyword or asking a question, it can find the most relevant scientific papers, and then it does the same thing as the tools that I mentioned previously. So it extracts the key findings and writes the summary. Consensus can also answer the yes/no questions, so it can do some kind of meta-analysis. So I asked Consensus whether the human activity influenced the climate on the planet Earth, and it gave me the yes answer, 100%. It's consensus among the scientific community. If you ask whether the vaccination caused autism, you can get the answer no, even though in this case the consensus is not 100%. But if you look at some items here in this meta-analysis, this was probably the word not. So the vaccinations are not associated with the development of autism, but apparently due to this typo, this article was flagged as yes. So as you can see, these tools are not perfect, and it always require some expert opinion on top of that. I also asked whether software can detect plagiarism. The most frequent answer was yes. When I answered whether artificial intelligence threatens university education, Consensus refused to provide me the answer because there are not enough relevant results yet. So let's try it in a couple of months again, and let's see if the relevant results are there or not. There are more this kind of like search tools. There is Elicit that does basically the same. So it finds and summarizes the most relevant papers about the given topic or given query. It can also extract the data from PDF or provides you with the list of concepts that appear across scientific literature. Perplexity AI that is specifically designed to answer question and substantiate that question by links to specific sources. Yeah, so it's certainly better than just ChatGPT, because ChatGPT just gives you the flow of the words that appears to be relevant in that context, but you have no guarantee about factual correctness. Here you can get the sources. Yeah, so it's not only the language model that is trained on to give you probability of words, but it works with the actual sources. So the factual correctness here depends on the sources. It's better, but only if you have reliable sources. If the sources you are using are not reliable, then of course you can get wrong answer again. And here you can also ask your students to play with these tools. You can ask them to conduct a literature review on their own and then compare the results. Yeah, compare the results with Elicit, Consensus, or other tools. Verify that these yes/no labels in Consensus meta-analysis are correct or not. And also, students can be asked to evaluate the credibility of sources. This is currently the most critical drawback of these tools, that they basically use the whole scientific literature pool, including the sources that are not really credible, like predatory journals and so on. Yeah, it's like Google Scholar or Semantic Scholar. If you enter the keyword, you get list of all sources, but there are no filters according to the credibility of these sources, which is not surprising because it would be really difficult to implement such filters, but it's something that we should take into account. But even though these tools are not perfect, it's a great help. Yeah, it basically does what would you do if you are conducting a literature review. You will put some keyword or some query to a search engine, look for the most relevant sources, read them, and extract the most important information. And this is something that AI can do for you within seconds, so you can save a lot of time. But of course, taking into mind that it is not perfect, so it's like asking some student to do that literature review on your behalf. Some of us would probably do the literature review better. And also for the creative tasks related to literature review, like identification of research gaps and so on, there are still some gaps in this area. Then there are tools for image generation. Most frequently mentioned ones are Midjourney and Stable Diffusion. So these work in a way that I presented before. So they are denoising images. As you can see, the whole presentation I have here was decorated by pictures from Midjourney. So let's propose some activities for students and positive use of these AI tools by students and by teachers. So what certainly can be done by ChatGPT just with the language model is writing a polite email as a source of inspiration, yeah, giving me some ideas about particular topics. When students complete their task, they can also ask ChatGPT for other ideas. So it's kind of check of completeness, explanation of a certain concept. So ChatGPT can behave here as a teacher. It can generate an exercise with solutions, so students can use it for self-training. But all the time we should be aware of hallucination, but it is expected that this risk will decrease over time. And now, yeah, ChatGPT 4 was much better than ChatGPT 3.5. Now ChatGPT 4 Turbo is much better than ChatGPT 4. So these models are getting better, like basically every week or every month. There are a number of ways how teachers can use ChatGPT in a productive way. So again, source of inspirations to write some explanatory texts, to generate multiple choice tests, to generate tips for interesting activities. So it can make our teaching more diverse. Yeah, we can generate images to make our slides more lively, and yeah, making course more diverse by getting inspiration on new topics. As far as I know, how teachers are already using these tools, so they can generate materials, either text or graphical, for an in-class work. So these texts can be then a base for discussion or training of argumentation. Yeah, so AI can generate arguments for a certain statement, and then students could argue, look for the counter arguments. For the courses about the soft skills like psychology, pedagogy, medicine, AI can here simulate a patient or client with certain problem, with certain diagnosis, or with some specific needs. So it can behave according to a given pattern, and students can learn how to deal with a person like that, yeah, how to communicate with such a person. So instead of training on real patients, real clients, real pupils, so this is much less harmful to real people. Yeah, other ideas for in-class activities are summarization. So we can ask AI to do some task, we can ask students to do some task, and then other task for the students will be to compare the products of students with the products of AI. And AI can work as a teacher. Yeah, this is now much easier, and there are already these GPTs, these tailored chatbots that was recently made possible by OpenAI, that help students with specific learning tasks. So there are number of possibilities, number of options. Maybe I can give the floor now to a short exchange of ideas. If there was anything that came to your mind during this enumeration, or you have something that you tried, it worked, and I did not mention it, so it would be nice if you can share it. Yes, Inta, please
Yes,
go.
hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, I use it for feedback. For feedback. I mean, I'm a French teacher, so yesterday, for example, I put some students working together in groups, and they were 3, okay, and they had to. One of them, well, we explained before the French nasals, how we pronounce them, and one of the students, the one who had less competence in French, because I will explain later why I did it like that. Normally you take the student that knows how to pronounce things better, because he has to be a model, but I wanted to get another objective. So so they start working together, and at the end, when they read the text, they had to go to natural reader or another tool that is called Narakit, and they have to copy those paragraphs into this application, and the application read it for them. So they could hear how a native speaker would pronounce those paragraphs and get that feedback. And they have to also correct and register the audio again. So, I mean, it's I just wanted to mention this because you didn't mention during the presentation those IAs related to text, text to voice. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you very much for that reminder. Yeah, that's something I have to include in my presentation. But these text to voice or text to speech tools are very useful when learning languages, and it's also works vice versa. Yeah, so it can be speech to text. That is something that is actually happening now in the background of this Microsoft Teams. Yeah, so this meeting is not only being recorded, but it's also transcribed to the text, and this text can be then translated to another language, and it's very easy then to add the voice, so I can sound in perfect Spanish, even though I would not be able to talk perfect Spanish. Yeah, so all these options are here currently.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So the technology is here, it's getting better, but sometimes we should be very aware of using all possible functions that the technology is able to provide. So let's move to the third part of our webinar, and these are ethical considerations of AI in classroom. I'm going to present what was written in the NI recommendations on the ethical use of AI in education. So you might not be aware of the European Network for Academic Integrity. It's the association of higher education institutions and also other institutions that aims to support and exchange experience in the field of academic integrity. So after the wide availability of generative AI, we thought that it would be nice to provide some general recommendation for teachers, for scientists, and for institutions about how to deal with that. The position of NI here is that the generative AI doesn't bring any new threats, anything new in principle. It just makes current threats more visible and more serious. Yeah, there were threats to academic integrity like contract cheating, data fabrication, data falsification. Everything was here before. Yeah, if you wanted to assess the students only based on some essay that the student submitted, you could be never sure that the student was really author of that essay. Yeah, it may be outsourced by the students, also actually written by someone else. If you have some study that presents the data, sometimes the data are fabricated or falsified, and it's very difficult to recognize this kind of fraud, this kind of misconduct. So this was here before, it's here now with the AI, but with AI it is much easier. So in May this year, we published a general recommendation, and it was published as an editorial in the International Journal for Educational Integrity. So first part of this recommendation is the background and context. So some claims that are, we believe, pretty obvious, but it is important to mention them explicitly. So these AI-based tools can transform, produce, or generate any kind of content, text, images, voice, art, music, programming code, whatever we ask students to submit to us, it can be outsourced from the AI tool. It is basically impossible to distinguish the AI-generated content from human-produced content. In May, it was challenging. Now I dare to say that it's impossible because the language models are getting better and better, and the studies that compared ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4 and how these AI generated text could be detected. So yeah, the detection possibilities of ChatGPT 4 are much lower than those of ChatGPT 3. And the wide accessibility of AI may exacerbate existing type of academic integrity threats, namely such as essay mills, paper mills, fabrication and falsification of data. In the educational context, it is important to set the borderline what is ethically acceptable for students to use. And it's actually the most frequent question that I'm getting from the students whenever I have a talk on AI in education. So they are really unsure about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Hey, can I have part of my thesis, like, can I have it written by ChatGPT or not? And if yes, how shall I acknowledge that? So these are the most common questions that I'm getting from the students, and it is very difficult to find the general answer that would fit to every context, because it always depends on the purpose of the task. In some cases, it should be forbidden to use any tools or AI tools. In some cases, it should be allowed. You can look at it as of any other tool, like calculator in the math classes. Of course, pupils at the basic school, first, second grade, when they have to learn how basic arithmetical operations work. So in this case, the calculator will be forbidden. But then in high school or in university, the calculator is the normal tool because the focus is somewhere else. Yeah, the focus is not on providing basic arithmetical operations, but on higher level math. And the calculator is the tool that can help us with these tedious, repetitive tasks like multiplication, addition, and so on, that we would be able to perform in our head, but it would take our capacity and prevent us from focusing on the actual purpose of the task. And the same is with the AI. If it is the first lecture or the first seminar on academic writing, where the students should learn how to write a meaningful paragraph on given topic with the correct citations and references and all that stuff. So obviously using of that AI would be counterproductive. But later, when the purpose of the task will be different, will be on something else, so we can use this AI tool to help with non-productive parts of the task. So the task should be always clearly communicated to students so that they can understand what is allowed and what is not allowed, what helps them to learn and what actually prevents them from learning. So in general, authorized and declared use of AI is okay. If the use of AI is either unauthorized or undeclared, it fulfills the definition of unauthorized content generation. That is the term that we created to generalize contract cheating, the assignment outsourcing. So we wanted to employ also the technology. Yeah, so unauthorized content generation means production of academic work in whole or part for academic credit, progression or award, whether or not a payment or other favor is involved, using unapproved or undeclared human or technological assistance. Yeah, so basically, whatever the students are supposed to complete by themselves, and they ask someone or something else to get help, then it fits this definition. and both teachers and students, yes, so teachers should communicate to students what is the purpose of the task, and all of them should understand what is, yeah, basically obvious, but sometimes it is helpful to have it specifically mentioned, that learning happens in students' heads. Yeah, learning doesn't happen in teacher's mouth. Learning doesn't happen on the whiteboard. Learning doesn't happen in the computer that the students are sitting at. It happens in students' heads. So whatever, yeah, depending on the tasks, some tools may help students to learn, because if the students can focus on what is important and get help from some tools to provide these tedious, non-productive tasks, like using the calculator, for example, it is helpful. But some tools may prevent students from learning. Yeah? In the first grade, when learning basic addition and multiplication, using calculator would prevent pupils from learning, because then the task is produced by the calculator, not by the student's head, and no connection or no knowledge is created in the student's head. And here, of course, assessment plays critical role. So we should make sure that we are actually assessing the real learning outcomes. So we are assessing what happened in students' head, and not just the product that could be potentially outsourced from someone else or something else, or written in collaboration with someone else or something else. Yeah, so a lot of educators now realize that they should rethink their assessments, and I have seen about many institutions that actually banned the assessment just based on the essay, or just based on the homework that the students do and potentially outsource. So we are kind of coming back to written exams, to oral exams, because these can happen in the supervised conditions, and we can see that the product we are assessing is really the product of student work. That's one thing, and another thing is that we can also assess the process also, and not only the product. So this is about what should be allowed. The other question is what should be acknowledged. Here the NI recommendation says that everything, all persons, sources, and tools that influence the ideas or content should be properly acknowledged. So consequently, when an AI tool is used and influence the content, it should be acknowledged. The form of acknowledgement may differ. In some cases, it would be just some footnote. In some cases, it would be just a couple of sentences in the introduction or in the methodology section. In some cases, it would be the proper citation if we are using longer passages that are directly taken from the generative AI tools. The recommendations for citations also mention that if it is possible, the prompt should be provided, but in some cases it would be really difficult. Yeah, for example, if you write something by yourself and then ask ChatGPT to reformulate it, to rewrite it so it looks more scientifically, then basically the prompt is your old text, which you don't want to provide. So in such case, it can be solved just by the footnote or by some comment that ChatGPT or other tool was used to for better formulation of the text. If the services, sources, and tools that only influence the form, that this is generally acceptable even without acknowledgement. So proofreaders, proofreading tools, spell checkers, thesaurus, and so on. Yeah, it's very unusual that you find in scientific paper that the grammar was checked using Grammarly or something like that, because it's kind of obvious that people are using that people are using these proofreading tools or spell checkers. There are specific recommendations from APA, MLA, and other organizations that are providing the citation recommendations, the citation norms. So the options about how to cite it. So if it does not influence the ideas, we can either mention it in the acknowledgement or not at all. So this proofreading, better formulations, and so on. If we use it for inspiration, design of structure, and so on, we can acknowledge, we can mention it in acknowledgement, introduction, or methods. And if we use whole passages, so it should be cited as any other source in compliance with the recommendation. Yeah, probably the most like we cannot cite it as a book or as a paper, because people can't go through that citation, through that link, and find the original source. But it can be cited similarly to personal communication. Yeah, so we acknowledge that this idea or this part of text is not our own, but it is not possible to actually verify the text as such and find it in that source, because for different prompts we would get different answers. What is an important aspect here is responsibility. The outputs of AI tools can be biased, it can be inaccurate or incorrect, so users should be aware of that. And neither the AI tool nor the provider of the AI tool takes responsibility for the generated content. So the responsibility is always up to the user. And that is also a reason why an AI tool cannot be never mentioned as an author or co-author of a publication. Because if you look at the Committee for Publication Ethics guidelines, so there are 4 criteria for authorship or co-authorship. First is a substantial contribution to the conception or design of the work or acquisition, analysis, interpretation of data. Second criterion is drafting the work or critically revising the content for important, critically revising the content. Third criterion is the final approval. And the fourth criterion is the agreement of being accountable, so accessing responsibility. And even though the AI tool can make substantial contribution, even though it can critically revise the content, it never gives you the final approval of the manuscript before publication, and it never accepts responsibility. Yeah, so that's why we deal with AI as with any other person who contributed to the paper but did not fulfill all the criteria of authorship or co-authorship. So then to sum up the NI recommendation, of course, there is no doubt that this AI brings significant change to education. It enhances human abilities. It's a multiplier of human abilities, both in positive and negative way. And the end of our recommendation is the urge to national policymakers and to institutions to set clear guidelines about about the using of these AI tools and also share good practices so everyone can benefit from the opportunities that AI brings to education and science, and we mitigate the risks. Okay, are there any questions or comments about the AI recommendations before we move to the detection of AI-generated text? Good. So I will share the results of the detection of the test of detection tools that we have conducted within AI. It's available as a preprint, but it was already accepted to International Journal for Educational Integrity. It's not published yet, but there are also other studies that have been published already, and their results are more or less the same. This research was done already in spring, so some April or March, April. So it was before ChatGPT 4, so we used only ChatGPT 3 to generate our content. So we had 6 categories of documents. We had human written documents, then we have human written documents in other language than English and translated to English. We had AI generated text, then we had AI generated text with manual edits, and we had AI generated text which we fed to machine paraphrasing, automatic paraphrasing tools, and then we asked the detectors to classify it whether it was human or AI. We tested 12 freely available tools and 2 commercial tools, and the overall results, I don't want to present here the ranking of particular tools. We rather wanted to focus on general patterns about how these tools behave. All these tools are biased towards classifying the documents as human written. Yeah, so in case of human written documents, the accuracy was about 95%. In case of AI written documents, the accuracy was around 75%. Yeah, so there were more false negatives than false positives. So if the tool is not sure, it usually tells you that it was written by human. You can see that the influence of machine translation was quite significant, that the texts that were written in other language and then translated to English were more likely classified as AI written, because apparently the machine translation leaves some traces of AI. But what is more interesting are the results here. As soon as you take the AI generated text and you either do some manual addition or you feed it through the automatic machine paraphraser, the accuracy dropped really significantly. And especially in this case, which doesn't require any human intellectual input, you simply ask ChatGPT to write an essay for you, then you ask another AI tool to paraphrase the essay for you, and in 75% it is classified as human written. So this is the huge drawback of these tools, that they can't cope with edited text or machine paraphrased text. So even though they work to some extent, our conclusion for the academic setting is that the ratio of false positives and false negatives is too high, and it is too easy to game the system by using paraphrasing tools. So we recommend that they are not used in academic setting at all. And yeah, unlike plagiarism detection, these tools don't provide you with the evidence. If you want to accuse a student from plagiarism or anyone from plagiarism, you have this text matching software tool, and it gives you the source document and the suspicious document with highlighted similarities. So you could easily see that, hey, these are 5 pages word for word copied from some other source. So it probably does not happen by coincidence. But here in these classifiers, you don't have any evidence. So it is impossible for the institution to prove any misconduct. And it is also impossible for honest students to defend themselves and to substantiate that they are one of these 5% of false positives. Yeah, so that's why we conclude that teachers and institutions should rather rethink their assessment strategies than rely on these detection tools. Okay, the last topic I would like to cover are ethical considerations of AI in science. Here, I would like to repeat what was already mentioned in the NI recommendations of AI in education, that wide availability of the AI tools makes existing threats more visible and more serious, but doesn't bring anything new, any new threats to our environment. And I would, to substantiate that, I will use this editorial in the journal Accountability in Research, which was published already in January 2023, written by Mohammad Hosseini, Lisa Rasmussen, and David Resnick, all the experts on research integrity, and they identified some threats to research integrity that are posed by wide availability or AI. First, they identified incorrect or irrelevant answers. So it requires thorough check for correctness. Then there is accountability of authors. And of course, there are threats to publication integrity that authors should disclose use of AI systems. And of course, they should not use AI to fabricate or falsify their data. So if we take a look at their claims, like what they wrote in bold, like the recommendations how to mitigate these threats. So they suggest that any section of a manuscript written by an NLP system should be checked by a domain expert for accuracy, bias, relevance, and reasoning. In fact, this is nothing new. Yeah? If we just omit written by an NLP system, we can get the claim that any section of a manuscript should be checked by a domain expert for accuracy, bias, relevance, and reasoning. And that's exactly what happens during the review process. Yeah? That's normal, that everything should be checked. Also, if a section of a manuscript written by an NLP system contains error or biases, co-authors need to be held accountable for its accuracy, cogency, and integrity. Again, this is nothing new. If a section of a manuscript contains error, co-authors need to be held accountable and make sure that this error is corrected or the paper is retracted or whatever is the most appropriate outcome for a given situation. And when it comes to research or publication integrity, researchers should not use NLP systems to fabricate empirical data or falsify existing data. Well, again, nothing new related to the NLP systems. Researchers should not fabricate or falsify the data. That's something that we have known even before. Yeah, but it is important to keep in mind that with wide availability of AI, these threats are now much more available. So the dishonest researchers have very, very powerful weapon at their disposal, and they can flood the scientific literature with a lot of fake studies, and I believe that this is already happening. So here we have very serious challenge to review process, because so far reviewers are mostly doing their reviews in the free time. There is very few rewards for the reviewers, and the whole system of science basically relies on their experience, and I'm not sure if this is sustainable in a long term. Yeah, and similarly to the NI recommendation, the challenges for publication integrity here are that researchers should disclose the use of such systems and indicate which parts of the text were written or co-written by an NLP system, and also any kind of assistance should be disclosed. Yeah, but as I already mentioned, this is very similar to a contribution from someone who does not qualify for authorship. So this is something that we normally put into acknowledgement, and the contribution of someone is in principle very similar to the contribution of something here. So to sum up the challenges of generative AI for research integrity, first category of challenges are related to authorship and acknowledgement. So who should be an author of a discovery that was made with significant contribution of AI? Yeah, so probably it will still be the human that was prompting the AI tool, but the contribution of the AI tool should be properly acknowledged. But then the question is, where is the borderline of the significant contribution that deserves the acknowledgement and insignificant contribution that we can simply omit? Other types of challenges are connected to the intellectual property rights. Sometimes the training data contained copyrighted material, which may influence the copyright of the results. There are still some court cases going around either in the United States or also in Europe. So this is something that is not really clear yet, and there might be some surprises in the area. And in general, like what kind of data should be allowed to use for AI training, and with the new intentions about the AI in the AI Act in the European Union, that the companies should be also transparent in terms of what data they used for training, and to completely disclose the training data in some cases. And the third area that I can see as a huge challenge is trust. So how can we trust that the results produced using AI are correct? I mentioned several tools that can be used, for example, for literature review, but how can we trust that the AI tool extracted really the most important points from certain paper? But this is something that we could not be sure even with humans, but now with AI, it's more visible. So all these challenges are mostly on the burden of the reviewers, which is quite unlucky. But to sum it up, I think that all these challenges just highlight the importance of ethics and integrity. So the either dishonest students or dishonest scientists, so basically anyone in academia who want to gain credits by cheating and by shortcuts, have now they have it now much easier. but for honest students and honest scientists, there are plenty of tools that make their work easier also. Yeah, so these tools multiply human abilities, and it's just up to us to use these abilities in correct way. So that's why it is important to focus not only on what is rewarded, but mostly on what is right, and keep in mind the principles of research integrity, so reliability, honesty, respect, and accountability, so that everybody can trust the outcomes of science. And with these AI tools, also transparency becomes very important, because we should be transparent about how the paper or how the product that we made, how it was actually produced, who was involved, and what tools were also involved. So that's all from me. I believe that the presentation will be available for you. So these are the sources that I used during my presentation. And now we can leave some space for experience exchange. I am particularly interested when and how AI helped you, either in class or during preparation for teaching, or in research, or in administrative tasks, and if there are any situations where actually AI increased your workload, so it was counterproductive rather than productive. So if you have anything to say, I would be more than happy to give you the floor.
Thanks a lot, Tomasz. Anyone who wants to give us some experience on these questions that Thomas is posing here? I will give you some examples of how, in the way that I use lately. I find it very useful for when conducting literature reviews, and you have to start by generating a list of keywords. And from these keywords, you have to generate a search equation that you will use in databases. And it's very helpful for generating this list of keywords, because it gives you a lot of words, of synonyms that many times you are not aware of. So it's very, very much helpful. And then if you tell the program, and now based on this, generate me a search equation, it generates you the search equation. You go to Scopus, you go to Web of Science, you go to any database that you want to use, and it's quite a good result, the one that gives you. So I find it very, very useful in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use it a lot for getting inspiration for tasks for students. Like that, 2 hours ago, I used it. We were brainstorming with my colleague. Like, we wanted a task for students about that first course on Python programming. And the students have the set of 6 tasks for every week, and so we were thinking about one of them. So I asked ChatGPT what it thought about that, and so like some basic ideas. We wanted something more creative, so I kept asking ChatGPT to give me more and more ideas. And then, I took one of the ideas, presented it to my colleague. Then he brainstormed one step further, and we got nice task for student. Yeah, so it was not the one that was suggested by ChatGPT, but after 2 steps in our human brains, I think we came up with great task.
Someone else?
And also for emails, it's quite useful. Yeah, I have in my email client, because I pay for an AI module that, so like make it longer, make it shorter, rephrase it so it is more polite and so on, more friendly.
More examples? No questions? Maybe now we should ask ChatGPT to give us examples and questions. But anyway, I mean, if there are no questions, if there is no one that wants to talk, we are approaching 5:30, which it was the scheduled time that we would finish with the webinar. First of all, thanks a lot, Thomas, again. It was a pleasure. We were around at the peak. We were around 94, 95, 95% in the Teams meeting room. So I think it was quite a good number. And then for everyone, we will be sending you a certificate of assistance in the following week. And if someone, because we will be using the emails that you gave us in the form that where you registered. If there is a case that someone didn't register, or by any way it doesn't let's say in 1 week, 10 days, doesn't get any certificate from us, just write me an email and I will sort it out. So let's say that by the end of next week, everyone should have in his or her inbox the certificate from the project. And then let you know that we will be running more of these webinars and short conferences in the framework of the Charlie project. So I will keep you posted and keep you updated with any other event that we can produce. And thanks a lot once again. And I hope that it was interesting. It was really interesting for me. Anyway, I hope that Thomas, we have a second edition with other resources and tools, because I think that this is fast changing so much. I mean, it's going so fast. The new applications, the new opportunities that all these tools they give you, that I think that in 1 year time we might make a second webinar and talk about different things and different risks that we might face with the use of artificial intelligence. So once again,
that's true. Like every time I run this webinar or have a talk, I have to update my presentation because some parts are simply obsolete.
Yeah. So thanks again, and we'll keep in touch. And for the rest, I will send you this certificate as soon as I can. Have a good time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Thomas.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.